This game recently launched in early access, and it's an online PvPvE extraction RPG with heavy Dark Souls vibes, fast-paced third-person combat, and some deep fantasy survival mechanics. Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're checking out Legacy, Steel, and Sorcery on the Steam Deck. But can you actually run it? I've been testing it, and while it is playable, you need to manage your expectations because there are some serious issues with this game right now. But without further ado, let's take a look. Now, Legacy, Steel, and Sorcery is an online-only third-person PvP/PvE extraction RPG set in a gritty dark fantasy world. Think Dark Souls meets Escape from Tarkov meets Dungeonborn, and these sort of games have recently popped up. This one really resonated with me. I've been wanting to check it out for a while now, and the developers were kind enough to actually provide me with a key. This one is a fantasy one with warriors, hunters, priests, wizards, rogues, and swords and bows and staves and loot runs and high stakes dungeons. And in short, it's a really cool game. The atmosphere of the world and the actual graphics and the setting really resonated with me. It kind of reminds me of World of Warcraft. You load into a massive map, you have to fight both players and mobs, you have to collect resources, and then you pretty much extract all you collect before dying, or you try to do that or risk losing everything. There's also base building, character progression, and brutal survival mechanics that reward careful play and high skill. It is always online, and you can choose to play it solo, or you can mix it up and play with a friend. I think up to 3 people can play in a party. Now, before I jump into performance, if you're interested in performance-tested Steam Deck content like this, don't forget to follow my SteamFlow curator page on Steam, as well as my Steam group. I post curated reviews, optimized settings, and real-world deck gameplay for all the games that I review. I would love it if you follow me there. Now, performance on the Steam Deck is not great. Technically, you can achieve 60 FPS on the lowest settings, however, you would have to use Frame Generation, which, by the way, is not the worst implementation I've seen. Out of the box, the game on FSR set to either balance or performance, the game will reach about 40 FPS. So with Frame Generation, we can achieve more than 60, we can achieve about 70 FPS. However, even there is some input lag, and the input lag is more noticeable because you have to play with a mouse and keyboard. The game does not have controller support yet. The developers do plan to implement controller support. It is on the roadmap of development, however, it's currently not available. Now, Steam input will automatically translate controls, so you can technically play with a controller on the Steam Deck. However, all of the key mappings will be presented as if you're playing with a keyboard and mouse. And even if you manage to set all the buttons, if you manage to just customize it and configure it so that you can play with all the Steam Deck's buttons, it's just some of the menus were designed to play with a keyboard and mouse. For example, you constantly have to loot chests or enemies, and the action of transferring items is best done with a mouse. There isn't really a button where you can transfer all. You have to manually navigate to an item and click it, and it's best done with a mouse. So currently it's a bit of a hassle to try and play it with the controller. Most of this footage that you're seeing is me playing with a keyboard and mouse on the Steam Deck. So it definitely needs some work before it's playable. But regardless, controller support will arrive at some point, and hopefully they will be able to make it intuitive to navigate the menus. I played a lot with Frame Gen and I didn't like it, so I tried setting a 45 FPS cap. This is another good thing about this game, is that it allows you to play a lot with the frame rate cap, and you can pretty much cap it any way you want. So I put it to 45 FPS, FSR set to performance, and this is achievable in some areas, but if you get attacked by more than 2 or 3 mobs, it will dip below 45, so it's not stable. And then I tried playing it with 30 FPS, which is the most stable, but you're still on the lower settings. FSR set to balanced. It will be 30 FPS most of the time, but again, if you get into heavy combat, it could drop to about 25 FPS, especially if the mobs you're fighting throw items at you or have spells. If you do plan to play it on the Steam Deck, if you don't have any other option than playing it on the Steam Deck, I do recommend playing it with a 30 FPS cap, and this will give you about 3 hours of battery life. Otherwise, if you play it uncapped, so at 60 FPS with Frame Generation, you'll get about 2.5 hours of battery life on the OLED. Overall, lowest settings are mandatory at all frame rates. Frame Gen helps hit 60, but introduces lags that's hard to ignore during combat. And as I said, I recommend just playing at 30 FPS cap. Now, you can improve performance when playing with FrameGen by introducing the manual GPU clock cap. This should be always done when you're trying to play with FrameGen. Just set a manual GPU clock, set it to 1600 MHz, and it will give you a little bit more smooth performance. But as I said again, when you're playing with mouse and keyboard, FrameGen really is a lot more noticeable. So that's gonna be it. If you're okay playing with a keyboard and mouse and don't mind tweaking settings, yes, Legacy Steel and Sorcery is playable and kind of impressive on the deck. But if you want to wait for full controller support, smoother performance, or more optimization, you have to give it time. It is in early access and it launched a couple of months ago. For now, the best compromise is lower settings, 30 FPS cap for longer play sessions, or FrameGen plus FSR set to balance for 60 FPS with some lag. That's gonna be it for this video. If you guys found it helpful, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe for more Steam Deck content, and I'll see you guys in the next video.